So now that we know how to do that pencil crayon exercise and we know how to mix colors and do something a little bit more unique when we color stuff as opposed to coloring like when we were little kids, we're going to take it up a notch and we're going to learn how to actually color like a tattoo. So we just have to put all that knowledge into practice. So we're doing the tattoo coloring sheet, and what I'm hoping is that in class you should have picked from a pile of images of handouts, and you should have taken something home. So I hope that you like something that you picked. Now there's two ways you can go about it. You can color right on the sheet, just right on here if you want, and then put that in your book. Another option is, if you want, since you know how to do it, you really want to take it up a notch, and if you're far ahead, what you could do is you could rub the back of it with pencil. You know how to do that, right? You rub the back of it with pencil. There's a delay in my pencil looks all wobbly. That's neat. Okay, so what you could do is you could rub the back with pencil, right? And then you trace all the outlines into your book, and then you could color it. So either is fine, whatever you want to do. Okay, so what we want to learn is we want to learn how to do this. We want to learn how to do all this beautiful shading, which we know how to do with pencil, with the single color, right? And now we're practicing with colors, how one color moves into the other. Tattoos are all about color and all very bright, right? So we want to look at, things aren't just, even, this here is multiple colors. Even the blue around the clock is multiple colors. All the shadows and everything in here, right? This is what we're aiming for. I really want to show you how to use your colors to make your own sort of colors. But also what I really want to stress in tattoos and inner shading is dark doesn't always mean add black, and making things lighter doesn't always mean add white, because that will really dull the colors and it makes it look very high schoolish. We want to look a little bit more professional, and we want our colors to be very bright. So not to say that you can't use black and white, because you definitely can, but it doesn't mean that every time there's a shadow, it means that it's using black, or if there's a highlight, it's adding white. If you look closely at this flower here, the shadows are actually a purple. The highlights, the light parts, are actually like some yellows and some oranges. So I just want to practice doing something like that, okay? So you have so I'm working away on this one. So you have a tattoo coloring sheet. I find this really relaxing, and I just want to show you the difference about coloring just with a single color as opposed to a few colors, and just some tips and tricks. So we've already talked about how when you're coloring, you got to stay on the lines. And sometimes when we do art projects in this class, it's better to not stay on the lines, but right now we need to. And also we talked about how coloring in circles really reduces the minimal lines, right? Makes it more believable that it's three-dimensional, okay? So now, another tip is that the way that you do your lines is that you're following the contour of that object, which means that you're following like the surface of it. So if it's something that's round, you're going to be coloring round. So when I was coloring these, my lines are actually following the shape of it, right? When I do my flowers, I'm imagining the petals, and my lines are doing the shape of the petals and the shape of the leaves, and all of that's important to make it believable, that it's got volume, that it looks three-dimensional, and that's the whole point of that, okay? So I'm just going to show you this part here. So first of all, I'm thinking in my brain that all of this here is underneath this part, which means it's a little bit of a shadow, and I'm also thinking that the contour kind of goes this way. So what I'm doing is I pick the bluey purple, and I know that it's darker underneath here, so that's going to be my shadow. So I start off with my main color, and I'm doing my pressure shading like you did in your value exercise, and my lines are coming up, and it's getting lighter and lighter and lighter. So I'm doing it with a single color, right? So I know that all these areas here are darker because it's underneath this part here, and it's going to get lighter, okay? I'm not just going to color it all at once. I have to do, for it to be convincing, I've got to do each piece at the same time, because each of them need sort of different attention and are be shaded a different way. Okay, and it's going to get lighter and lighter. So this is what I'm doing with my single color. All right, as you see, I'm not totally filling each one up. I'm kind of getting the general idea. This one here, if you look closely, I can see that this one is underneath both of those. So actually this whole thing here is going to be darker than the other ones. So by doing a single color, doing that pressure shading, already starting to look 3D. It's not too bad, right? But it's a bit bleh. Okay, so we want to take it up a notch. So I got all my information here. Now I'm going to put another color on top of it. This is going to color the same. It's really nice. Because is maybe, because everything's just not one color, everything's a variety of colors. So I'm going to try maybe a lighter blue with it. And I'm just going lightly and coloring in circles. And that's going to be kind of like my highlight. So already adding that, right? Look how much more depth that has in it. Okay, so again, I'm not going to go heavy because if I go too heavy, then it's hard for me to add other colors on top of it and mix it. Okay, again, making sure my lines are going there, etc. Okay, now keep tracking along with that. So already it's looking good. It's a lot of going over and back. Now I sort of notice the reflection in the screen is horrible. I could probably use a little bit more of the darkness here. Right? If I want that super dark, then what I can do is I can add some, maybe a deeper color of red. So if I really want to get a shadow in there, maybe if I take a little bit of that red. So you just sort of experiment, just a tiny bit of experiment, and see how that really sets it behind. I don't know if you can see that. Right? So you're just playing with a few colors and a few layers. Right? You're taking maybe a blue-green too and just filling in some of those gaps. Another thing, layering it like this, it gets rid of the white that's reflecting underneath through the paper, and then it makes it more solid and makes it more convincing. So you actually see I have quite a few colors in there. So actually, I started off with this, that was the main color. This was kind of like my mid-tone, filling everything out. I added this for some highlights at the top, and to make it deep, I used like a bit of a red, right? And that kind of set it off, okay? Let me do one more really quick, and I just want to talk about this flower here. So again, I'm going to start off with my main color. I know this part is underneath here. So we get nice and deep. And again, when you did your value scales, you know if you start off with the darkest you can get, it gives you more range to get that dark to light. So I know this is right behind here. It's right behind this one. So again, my lines are going to go this way. I imagine they're flower petals, right? And the light's kind of hitting here. Because I'm imagining that as a curve. And then so here it's probably a bit darker. I over-exaggerate my lines a little bit. Okay, again, that looks pretty good, but you see how there's a lot of white sort of reflecting in that? So you can't, that's why it still looks a little bit dull. So remember we said white and black sort of dull colors? Okay, what would be nice is maybe if I take where I imagine the light's hitting, which is all here. Maybe if I take that yellow. That kind of blends it in a little bit. Okay, and then what would be really neat is to see if I can make that shadow a bit darker. So it's a lot of going over and back. So really, just gotta take your time. I'm gonna turn the movie on. Listen to some music. This part here, I got it pretty dark with this, so it'd be really nice again with that deepness. I'm gonna try like a dark purple. I love using purple for shadows. I'm not doing it very much, and I'm not doing it hard. But you see if I just add that in there. I feel like Bob Ross. Okay, if I just add that in there, just a tiny bit. You see how that makes it deeper and really believable. That's a little bit more of a shadow. Okay, so again, it's all in there. So you just get it. It's a lot of work, right? So you have to consider that for every single part of everything that you do, right? So we really, with this method, you have to consider each section individually. You're not just going to fill each color just with a solid one, as if you were doing a paint bucket tool. So we don't want it to look flat. We want it to look three-dimensional. All right, so really give this a shot and do the best you can, and it'll look great. Okay, have fun.